Savannah started out in Washington. She was born in Washington, and she and her mother moved to Oregon. She was very small in stature. She was visually impaired, hearing impaired. The unfortunate thing was when she got to Oregon, then the mother's own personal medical, physical, and mental health began to play into her choices. It didn't work out, and so she came into care.
So we met Savannah from a referral from, I believe it was the Early Hearing Detection and Intervention Agency. She was in foster care at the time, and I was the early intervention service provider. Her CASA and I started doing some home visits together at a point, and we would both spend time with the foster family and then have an opportunity to debrief afterward about what we were seeing and how those two things reconciled, because we often saw very different things when we were with the family.
Savannah had been challenging to this foster mother, to the point that she had needed to get medication to smooth Savannah's behavior out. Savannah did not have hearing aids that came with her from Washington. She didn't have glasses that came with her from Washington. Her language in this home, the foster family was not making progress in being able to communicate with Savannah in a language that she needed to learn as well. This was the huge point with Savannah, and my advocacy was to help her have language that she would be able to express herself and have a relationship with her family.
Eventually, she was removed from her first foster home by Leigh's advocacy. Really, that was a big part of that, working with DHS. And she ended up staying with one of our teachers for the deaf, who didn't have any children of her own, and knew that Savannah needed to be in a signing foster home. And that's very, very hard to find. I had a very good friend, and she is hard of hearing and a fluent ASL signer. She's an interpreter and a teacher for the deaf. And she is married to a wonderful deaf man in Austin, Texas. And they have, between them, one biological child. She has 2 other biological children, and they're all fluent signers. They adopted 2 girls, and I knew just because of our connection that they were looking for a little girl to round out their family. And so I connected with Andrea, and I just said, hey, I know this little girl. Would you be interested in learning more about her? And she obviously was like, yes, and when and how can we make this work?
Soon after that, things worked out with the wonderful caseworker that she was able to make this out-of-state adoption option real.
Andrea and Ryan and Savannah started having FaceTime conversations, and they talked pretty much every day over FaceTime, got to know each other over FaceTime. When it was time for them to meet, I met Andrea at the airport. Savannah's foster sister brought her to the airport, and she was, dragging her little tiny suitcase, and her foster sister pointed to where Andrea was, and Savannah's looked like, is that? And then just ran full speed at her, and they fell into each other's arms, and it was love at first sight for both of them.
Your name. Who are you? My name's S. Okay, let's start over. S, A, E, A. A, you missed A, And N, we do N for some reason. A, H. Yay, Savannah. I think of her as sunshine. In my phone, when I have to do a calendar, she's my yellow color because she's my sunshine. Sunshine and a rainbow and unicorns and sparkle and a big bomb. That's Savannah.
Leigh was absolutely instrumental in Savannah being put into a care situation that was good for her. Leigh was the one that was able to identify where the gaps were and bring all of the stakeholders to the table to talk about what this child needed.
Without CASA, Savannah would still be in the first placement. Without enough language to communicate her feelings.
My husband and I have been foster parents for 7 years. We fostered 7 different children at different lengths of time. Every time we've ever had a CASA, I know that I can sit down and talk with them and they're going to see it from the child's perspective. That's what these kids need. They need more people fighting for them. Leigh helped change Savannah's life. If there weren't people like Leigh fighting for her, she would still be in that home and would not be thriving like she is today. Every kid should have a CASA. Every kid should have a CASA.